Development Channel. I'm Nasi. Today we got an awesome lesson as always. I got a brother that's near and dear to me. Something me in the beginning of the SETI debate. We trained together. We went over information. We had a real tactical presentation. Went different ways, but this brother was very serious about the information, scholarship, and he's always been my brother. And to now it's a blessing that we get to reconnect together and do something for the community at whole, the conscious community at whole, and bring some real scholarship back to the conscious community. Nazzir, introduce yourself, brother.
Peace, man. I appreciate you inviting me on the platform. We worked through those technical difficulties we had a little while ago, and we back on. It's been a while, man, since me and you have linked up, and so I think that's a good thing because the last time we linked up, we brought back a little bit of balance to the conscious community, the grassroots movement, and I think it's very much needed again. So, I'm a Hebrew Israelite, and I think a lot of people get confused by that in and outside of the Hebrew Israelite community, because I may be a different type of Hebrew than you're used to. I more so come from the school of thought of Yosef ben Levi, if you study any of his works, where he's more on a scholarly level with it from a Hebrew perspective. And even though, I don't might not agree with him totally, I'm just saying from the outside looking in, if I had to describe myself, that's how I would best describe myself. My understanding of the Hebrew Israelites, of the Judeans, the Israelites, is that, their ethnogenesis is from the Aparu, the Habaru, or the Sagas. They are one faction or segment of the Sagas. And so when you really break the records down to, on the simplest level, they were rebels. They were rebels. They had a rebel ideology. They were against the oppressive regimes and against oppressive governments, central governments in the ancient world. They were against taxation. They were against the restriction of people movement. Many of the same things that we face in America today, they were against these things. So we're still fighting these same fights today. So maybe not today, but in the future, we can get into my understanding of the Hebrew Israelite ideology from the ancient perspective. I think we've kind of, the waters have kind of been muddy with the modern forms of these Hebrew Israelite schools and identities that we see today. And so maybe we can bring a little bit of clarity to all of that. I did a video maybe about 2 weeks ago now on the origin of the Hebrews, where I detail in general their ethnogenesis. And I think you called me after that and you told me you agreed with certain portions of it and you would like to add to it. And so maybe we can go over some of that today, as well as Sa Netter has some interesting things to say about the Bible. And so maybe we can bring some clarity to some of the scriptures that he has recently brought out that's causing a stir out here in the conscious community and on social media. So, hey, we can just deal with a various of topics. If any of the people listening, if they have any questions that they want to ask you or myself, hey, we can open up the lines. They can come on and we can get to it. We can just have a good dialogue, a good discussion. And I think this would be the beginning of something bigger where we actually go out here and have these discussions, symposiums, if you will, with anybody. The Amin Ra Squad, Sa Netter, Brother Jabari, whoever wants to step up to the plate, and we debate, we have these discussions surrounding the Hebrew Israelite ideology, the ancient Egyptian ideologies, all of this. We can put everything on the table and have some open, honest discussions. And I'm even proposing a conference, and I mentioned this to you, of areas of contention within grassroots scholarship. And we do it in a UNESCO type fashion where we decide both sides. And the first two groups that I think should take part of this would be the Hebrew Israelites and those who identify with the Kemetic school of thought. And we pinpoint areas of contention that we can come to a consensus on. And we do it in a scholarly way. You debate your point, and then we all come up with a consensus. So that way, future Hebrew Israelites coming into this community, future people who want to deal with the Kemetic school of thought can have a blueprint or a handbook, if you will, which would be a foundational piece by which then they can come in here and say, okay, hey, we're on agreement with these things here from a scholarly perspective, because we debating about some silly stuff and there's no context behind it. And many of our top researchers aren't stepping in and giving clarity on a lot of things. We're still playing the game of, you attack me, I attack you. We're still playing that game 10 years later. You know what I'm saying? The debate that you had with SETI kind of opened up the floodgates for it, for people trying to make a name for themselves, people trying to get shine now. You know what I'm saying? Because everyone saw that as, wow, you can really get popular off of this. You can really have a lot of success and be well known. Not only that, you can make money off of this. So you had guys that was coming out of the woodworks now who want to participate, want to be seen, want to be known as somebody, and it's just gotten real bad, man. So from a Hebrew Israelite perspective, we can no longer let ISUPK and please understand me, audience, listen to audience. Nazi does not speak for me. I don't represent him in anything that I'm getting ready to say. So let me put that out there first and foremost. But we can no longer let ISUPK and many of these outspoken Hebrew Israelite groups push the narrative, because it's gotten so extreme that the Hebrew Israelite community is looking like clowns right now. We're not being taken serious, because what scripture says for 50 men to go stand on the corner and disrespect black people all day long? What verse is that? What verse tells 50 black men to go out, have church service on the corner and disrespect black people all day long instead of building them up? I think it's IUIC, Brother Nathaniel Seven. I think I've seen 800 Hebrew Israelites go out and stand in the streets, bro, and protest something that wasn't even worth protesting. And I'm looking at their garments and everything. Everybody was, wearing the same thing. You could tell they put some time, energy, and money into that effort. You know what I'm saying? And I believe they pay tithes and everything like that. So the elite, or I don't want to say the elite, but the elders are making money in that organization. But the parishioners and the brothers involved in the movement are broke, busted, and disgusted. So imagine if each one of those guys would have came forward with $400 or $500, that would have been $400,000 right there, by which they could have started businesses. They could have got involved in economics, and it would have gave our people hope. We've been so spiritually minded that we're no earthly good at this point. A lot of us, you know what I'm saying? We're no earthly good, man, because we haven't figured out a strategy by which we can improve our economic and our political situation. And that's very much different than the ancient Hebrews. We keep talking about we're Hebrew Israelites, but we're not doing it like the ancient Hebrew Israelites did it. We're nothing like them as much as we're trying to be. So we're trying to dress like them. We're trying to act like them. We're trying to get out in the corners and be Ezekiel and Jeremiah and these prophets. But we're forgetting some of the foundational principles that they adhered to, and the lengths they were willing to go through to make it happen. So I know I went on a rant a little bit, but let's get into some of these topics, man.
Okay. No. No. It's all good. Definitely. So what is scholarship that's going on in the conscious community now? Because I wasn't aware of a lot of stuff. Because I stepped away. I've been building the Goshen project. I want to say something. I want to tell you how bogus a lot of stuff is when it comes to the conscious community. We're talking about we purchased 140 acres of black land, old slave plantation. got business, are placing homes in fast time upon the land, and it doesn't get no recognition. Giving people jobs, taking care of people that don't have it, and we open up our own communities, and yet there's no coverage of this. And so I say that I've been real busy, and then you plugged me into a few things, a couple of videos that were going on, and I seen the and some of the stuff I said, okay, I see his approach because he's taking a different approach. It's not the same approach everybody else is taking with the Israelites, right? He tries to tackle certain things, but you had a conversation with Garfield.
Yeah, we had a conversation about a couple of videos that he did right after he did the videos. Actually, I reached out to another brother. He reached out to him, and I showed him. We spoke about the errors and his methodology in speaking about the Hebrew Israelites or the ancient Judeans and their culture, because he was trying to say that there was a Judah in the north, and that had been debunked in the early 1900s up until the 1970s. So that information he was presenting had already, excuse me, had already been taken off the table almost 100 years ago. So why were you bringing it up now? The reason why he was bringing it up now, because the layperson out here in the conscious community doesn't know about any of this. They don't study in depth like that. And so it takes individuals like myself and others like you, brother, to basically give clarity and give context and basically call a lot of this stuff out as BS, man. You know, I've sat back and I wonder, I said, man, why do I still even do this? Why do I still dialogue with these brothers and speak with people? And why am I still passionate about this in my own personal life, my own personal studies? And, you know, I heard Bobby Hemmett say something very important. He said, you know, to whom much is given, you know, much is due. You can't just sit back and keep, you know, all these things, these gifts to yourself. You know, why not share them with the world? You don't have to so much as go out here and, you know, try to feed every homeless person you see and try to be, you know, this all around good Samaritan per se, you know, which is what we think we should be doing. But just use whatever gifts you have and just try to help people. So whatever help that I can give at this point, I'm willing to do that. So if it takes us going around doing these lectures, linking up with the Amon Ra Squad and others, and us going over these points of contention, if that's what it takes to bring clarity to our people, then that's what we have to do, you know. And I don't think, and I think we can hold our own against anybody. You know, I feel personally I can hold my own against any of these guys. And I know you as an individual feel the same way.
Yeah.
So
And I agree with you because I kind of
go ahead. Go ahead, bro.
you hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
So absolutely, nah. I know. We ready to go to just even over some of the stuff that we were studying. You know, some of the attacks I've been seeing lately is really mundane, and it's like we're regurgitating old stuff. Even with the homosexual stuff in the Bible, man. I was looking at a person saying, "Oh, the servant of Abraham put his hand on the thigh, and that was gay. Who does that? That's gay." All right. So initially, me and you was talking, and we was like, "Yo, when that was brought into the conscious community, it was because Egyptians were attacking Hebrews for being gay. So the natural was another petty response, showing that if you want to play like that, then we can play like that too." So when I was in the first debate, I brought up some homosexual stuff that was some of the stuff was obviously gay, but some of the stuff must have had metaphoric meanings to it. But now it seems that in 2019, we're still regurgitating old stuff that was just a petty response to a petty response. So when we go into the aspect of the hand on the thigh, right? It doesn't say the gid, which is the Hebrew word for the penis. It says the thigh. All right. So now we look at it, right? So in ancient times, I was doing some research, and this is prior research to what we're talking about now. But in the research, it discusses how most cultures
You broke up. You broke up,
the
Nazi.
attack on the Hebrew Israelites is because now, huh?
You good now? I can hear you now. You faded out for a minute.
We are one of the biggest groups. So now, of course, the attack is going to be how they draw in big crowds. It's to rouse the Hebrew Israelite community. So now let's think of that thing with Abraham, right? So the comment is because the servant put his hand on his. Now, how immature was that? Kind of mature. That's coming from a perspective like we talk down. We say stuff like, "I'm about to go hard." You say, "No homo, bro." It's a childish mindset, right? So we get into that and we're understanding now and bringing forth truth in the relative. In ancient times, men used to kiss each other on the cheek. Seen as gay. So now you take a concept of swearing upon a person's thigh, which is the connection to his basically side of it, swearing on a future generation that this will happen. And in that, it causes an aspect of trust. And I'm going to bring you to something real quick because I was reading a book in the psychology. There was monkeys gain trust, right? And if you see baboons actually play with each other's penis. They do that to gain trust because they know I can either take off your penis and kill off your reproduction, I can gnaw at it, or I can tear it up, whatever. But that aspect of trust. But now let's look at the aspect. They didn't put their hands on it. It was a connection. It was a symbolic. But then in the conscious community, they will attack that based off of their Egyptology understanding or Egypt understanding, and they will go against that, right? But now let's go to or Baba. It's different interpretations for the God that is over Duat, which is the underworld, or sometimes it's the term purgatory. So most Egyptians are not going to teach, but there is a hell-like concept in Egyptology, right? Egyptology is not going to go and make it so scientific and correct, and it's not about. It's not. It's pseudoscience. Pseudoscience teaches that. So now, so in Egyptology, when you go and you die, you go into the underworld to do what? Which is the baboon. Now, this is the research that was done on the baboon that they play with each other's penis, right? In it, you start to see in the Egyptology on the walls that Bobby walks on with the penis of the deceased to bring it into the afterlife so he can reproduce. So now when you go into the afterlife and you're about to be judged, you swear on the penis of Bobby and you say, I am the penis of Baba or Bobby because the penis represented the power. So now Bobby summons all of these entities. He summons Shu, he summons all the gods of Egypt to testify on his behalf for the person while Thoth cross-examines him. Let's testify. The root word testicle and word to go to testicle. Because in ancient practices, all civilizations carried out a swearing or a vow that was placed on a thigh of an individual. And in some instances, in Greek and Romans, they actually touched their penis. So now, when we go into the standing, they also had a similar practice because they were deceased had to go before, and the guards were on the behalf of Bobby fertility and sexual desires and impulse, the penis or the phallic. So now, I mean that they don't even understand their own writings. Because now we can go perpetually on. I can start digging up stuff more from the Book of the Dead and the Book of the Dead. But we're playing petty games now, and I think that the reality is that we have to get out of it.
Yeah, and just to add to, both points you made when you mentioned about the farmland and the 100 acres, and basically people within the conscious community, within the grassroots movement, Hebrews included, not being supportive, not highlighting it, not maybe even inquiring about it. And I think it just simply boils down to, man, people are fearful, um, in a sense. People are, selective, who they deal with. Uh, People have certain biases. People have certain jealousies. You seen that with the second debate you took part in. There's a lot of a lot of jealousy within the Hebrew Israelite community of other Hebrew Israelites, and them being in the spotlight. You saw it when you got the spotlight, when you took over the conscious community for a brief moment, how everyone now wanted to basically step in your place. And it's almost like, in a sense, because you were getting into it with good intentions and you really didn't have an agenda, you know what I mean? But that's kind of a good and a bad thing, because certain people that were involved, they were planning this out to the end. You know what? I'm gonna put a book out when this comes out. It'll be perfect timing. Um, I'm gonna make money off of this. We're gonna turn this into we're gonna do two offs, three offs, part two, part three, and keep this thing going and just get the debate circuit going. Well, we wasn't looking at it from a money perspective. When I got involved in it to help, on the independent research side, I wasn't trying to get no money out this, man. You know what I'm saying? I think I kind of knew that it was some money involved, but I wasn't even thinking about it like that. I just was passionate about getting the information out there, having a balance within the conscious community, because I'm a regular dude. So when I'm out here in the streets, it's people come up to me and they ask me, hey, what's up with this dude? What's up with that dude? Or I see some of my friends and associates who I never would have thought, these are street guys, street dudes who I never would have thought would be paying attention to what Hebrew Israelites doing and what the Kemetic School of Thought guys are doing, the Nile Valley researchers are doing, and whomever. And I would have never thought they would have asked me about this stuff, but they do. Or I go over and they're watching it on TV, on YouTube, and I'm like sitting there like, wow, this dude here. Or, hey man, I remember something you said to me 3 years ago. I'm up on it now. You see what I'm looking at, and see some of the books I got. So this is very real to me. It's not a game. I'm not up here trying to sensationalize everything like these guys are doing with the homosexual material. And at the time when you presented it, maybe to others, and looking back, we both can say it wasn't done in a way that was probably educational. It was done in a way as a response to the accusations, as you said, that the other side was making to Hebrews and people who dealt with the Bible. So it was a response, and it was very justified. If you hit somebody on the right cheek, everybody's not going to do like Jesus said, turn the other cheek. No, they're going to fight back, and we're going to fight back. And that's what that was. So now we can come back and say, hey, the introduction of that has opened up a door for us to clean that up, come back in and bring a level of maturity within research, you know what I'm saying? And level of honesty with in dealing with all of these ancient cultures and the understanding of them. We cannot look at these ancient cultures through modern eyes and try to understand it. If you don't have a certain level of research under your belt, If you haven't looked at, tried to understand what a culture is and understand these ancient cultures by way of purchasing books, I remember Brother Ankh used to talk about, the 500. I got this $500 book, to try to hold that over somebody's head to say, hey, you're not on my level, basically. So you don't know what you're talking about. So it's the reason why we go out and we purchase these books. You know what I'm saying? It's the reason why we do this. Why we go out and get, books like this, Current Research in Egyptologist 2014, because each year they come back and they revise previous research and conclusions or interpretations that they may have made. So they're always upgrading. So they're always coming back and they might say, hey, we made a mistake. So we can say the introduction of us bringing in well, I didn't bring it in, but I was a part of it because you brought it in. So I'm part of it indirectly. But, your attack on the Kemetic community, now it leads to an opportunity for us to come back and teach and come back and try to give people clarity and understanding, as I said before. And going back to the 100 acres, because I know I'm kind of jumping all over the place, man. And I'm just trying to be real with you on that part of it. A lot of us are in position to make the jump. And I'm speaking from my personal perspective. It takes money to just pick up and leave and come down to a place and basically start from scratch, build from the ground up and other things. You know what I'm saying? And then in the back of your mind, and this is not me, but maybe others, they may be thinking, this seems a little cultish to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what we think, because we've seen a lot of this stuff before, and even Pastor Dow, some of the things he's doing, he even faces those accusations. You know what I'm saying? And it's because you see these guys kind of being this dictator. So it's almost like, is Nazi going to be this dictator? Where he's dictating his sister, you must wear these garbs. Brother, you must do this. Brother, you're not going to uphold the Sabbath. And so I think people are kind of like, okay, what is this going to be? You know what I'm saying? Like some more of us who are a little bit more conservative, like, okay, what am I to expect? You know what I'm saying? But I think money plays a big part in it, though, Naz. I think a lot of these brothers and sisters are not where they want to be in life. Let's face it. A lot of us aren't where we want to be. Our finances are not right to pick up and leave up out this city, to come down there and start over. And a lot of people aren't willing to sleep in their cars, sleep in tents, make the sacrifices that it would take to make something like that pop off. You feel me? They want to come into a ready-made situation, and it's not going to happen like that. It's just not. So, and then I think a lot of people do know the sacrifices they're going to have to make coming into a situation like that, and they don't want to make those sacrifices. We're comfortable. We're comfortable. So what you was gonna say?
What I was gonna say is that people have to realize that, like, we're not asking you to sleep in tents. We're not asking you to do this. It is. I made some sacrifices to make this happen. My partner, Nasi, who's in, we already have $500,000 inside of this whole investment. You know what I mean? So we pushing forward. It's not like the money. We're not crowdfunding this. We're not asking people for anything. We are basically just trying to make it happen and build it. So now, why the conscious community, the awareness of something like that, even if you don't like the Hebrew Israelite community, you got to see what they're doing. What other people, you can Google certain people's network and see they're worth millions of dollars that's inside the conscious community, and is still not willing to invest in their own people. And that's one of the problems. So now I'm sitting back and I'm like, yo, I'm focused on this Goshen project, my community Shomer HaTorah. But then I look at it like, okay, cool. There's still a lot of folly going on in the debate system. I'm watching brothers who turn their back on their own communities just to be able to debate with Sinetta. Like, some of this stuff is like crazy, but it's not like I won't sit down with Sinetta. I actually at a point in my life where I want to sit down with Sinetta. He has done something for me, but I didn't like the way he did things afterwards. You know what I'm saying? And I'm a grown man. I learn from mistakes, and I realized that he's about money. He's about promoting on sides. He's not on the Egypt side at all. He's not on. This is just something that he presents to get both sides involved and this is why they're so desperate to try to pull Israelites into the debates. And I get it. You want to debate, we can make debates happen. I got my brother Vin on here. I got you, Nazzir, on here. Like, there's serious Hebrew Israelites that study, Israelites that don't play games. So you can't ask me no question about, oh, putting a hand under the thigh and think I'm gonna fold on that. Happy or Bobby or Baba is the same thing as dealing with testimonials based off of the fact. When Hebrew Israelites never even touched the phallus, they just touched the thigh when other communities actually touch the penis. Like, it's just simple stuff. And then I look at it like, okay, well, look, it says in the Bible where the Hebrews were mad at the Egyptians in Ezekiel 18 because the Egyptian penis was hung. Now you got to realize that some of the book has them. When you're a Hebrew and you're captive in a place and you're looking at all the apartments on the wall and you see over exaggerated body parts, that you when you're writing, you're making fun of, like, you're going after these over exaggerated body parts. It ain't like Hebrews were looking under the kilts of Egyptians. So the stuff that I'm looking at is like real petty. It's like, it's not clays. And I think that, yes, we all threw a little petty dirt, but now let's get to some real studies. Let's get to some real consciousness. Let's see what's working. You talk about Kemet conscious community. Where's your conscious community? You talk about Hebrews. We have a community. We have community. We want to build. We want to test it. We want to put it all on the line, and we want to sit down. And before you get into it, now, see, I want anybody that wants to debate. If you're a person and you don't have a following, we'll let you debate on our platform. Any platform you platform. That has a debate, get in the debate, we'll pay you for these debates. We are investing in our community. If you're educated, we will invest in your education and push you. We will give you a certain amount of money. We'll fly you out to Atlanta, New York, wherever we're going to set up the debates, and we will pay for this debate. You're not coming back with information but not a backing. And it doesn't mean I wouldn't even go to a Sinetta platform. Now, what I'm saying, information about what we're doing needs to be put out there. But these Israelites are being attacked, and we can't have that. I can't have information that's going to blow these people out the water. And me and Nazzir have been sitting on information like this for the longest. It's just that he perfected it. And now I'm looking at stuff and I'm like, yo, Nazzir, look at my notes. It's similar to yours. Like, we working now, but let's go. Let's get this thing happening, man.
Yeah, for sure. And in regard, real quick on those 100 acres, man, Sinetta should have been the first one down there with the cameras rolling, getting footage of the beautiful things that was going on down there. You know what I mean? Just to spotlight that to the community, even if he didn't totally agree with the ideology of being a Hebrew or none of that, because he was there with the cameras rolling when it was, beneficial to him during the debates. He went on a mean spree of basically saying, I'm a Hebrew now, even though we know it was, some Don King type stuff, after you won the debate, you know what I'm saying? But this is Sinetta. And when I spoke with him recently, I even had to let him know, hey, man, I view you as a civilian now. And what I mean by that is Sinetta was pushing the line of being the street ethics type individual. And we have to always remember this is the grassroots community. So there's always going to be that street ethic element in it in terms of snitching, in terms of, just certain principles, you know what I mean, that we all hold dear, even in our own households and personal lives when it comes to molestation and various other things. You know what I'm saying? And so his platform had kind of was dealing with the snitch thing a little too much. And, it's kind of like, you don't want to justify that element per se, because then you can justify taking secrets amongst the grassroots. It would be like you, Nazi, or somebody close to us in our inner circle who will be capable of taking some of the information and strategies that we have on a private level and take it to the public. You know what I'm saying? And in a way to expose us or tell the authorities something or what have you. So that's, it's a little bit dangerous. But as I told him, man, I said, I view you as a civilian now. So as a civilian, I understand where you're coming from. I know how to deal with you now, though. And so, like I said, he should have been the first one down there. But yeah, so if that's what you want to do, Nazi, if paying these guys who, are passionate, like we're passionate about debating, about having these discussions and these dialogues, then hey, I'm all for it. I'm all for it, man. And ready to get to it. Ready to get to it because, it's context is very important. I see so much stuff just being spewed out over the internet and sensationalized, and Sanetter is all about entertainment at the end of the day. And he told me, he picked up his chessboard. He held it up like I'm holding up this Tanakh. And he said, man, I'm a chess player. This is entertainment with a smile on his face. I'm doing this shit for entertainment and for the camera. And excuse my language for some, who don't like people to be cussing and stuff like that. But he's doing it for entertainment. So it is what it is. And then you and I and others have to understand that there's a level of entertainment to this. Let's not act like when we're in our household and we're by ourselves and we're watching TV, we're not watching the same dysfunctional stuff, reality shows, etc., that everybody else is watching. And in fact, it's almost good to watch a lot of it because you're able to keep up with what's going on in your society. You're not isolating yourself to be that person who is so spiritually minded that you're no earthly good. You can't relate to people, etc. So it is what it is, man. But like I said, we can't let ISUPK and many of these other groups push the narrative of what a Hebrew Israelite is any longer. You know what I mean? It's like we have to think about those who are going to come in after we're dead and gone. This is still going to be going on. People going to be on YouTube, StreamYard, or the next hot thing, still doing what we're doing after we're dead and gone. Because Dr. Ben and many others, Hebrew Israelite scholars, etc., have passed. And what are we doing right now? Still doing some of the same things, similar things that they're doing. So somebody's going to come along after us. What are we going to leave the next generation? What are we going? We're going to still leave them these same homosexual debates, these Bible contradictions. We're still going to be talking about, are the Egyptians black? Were the Hebrews Arabs, or were they black people? Or we still going to have these same conversations? Or are we going to be doing what you're doing right now, which is getting 100 acres, building, you know what I'm saying? Trying to figure it out because this is something new. And people have to understand that too. Like we're venturing off into areas and doing things that we've never done. Our ancestors were slaves in this country. Yeah. And then as soon as we got empowered, they snatched the rug from underneath our feet. And so we're trying to figure it out on the fly. I'm in the business sector. And I have failed at business several times because I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have someone there to coach me or to guide me and to tell me, hey, no, you do it like this. So I had to learn as I failed. You know what I'm saying? That's a horrible way to learn. But guess what? My children are going to benefit from it. Those that I consult now are going to benefit from it. Likewise, brother, what you're doing, others are going to benefit from. You may never reap the benefits of what you're doing right now. Honestly, you'll probably go to your grave having almost like Moses in a sense, seen the promised land, but didn't get there. But you know that it's going to benefit those after you. It's the same thing we're trying to do right now.
You ever seen the movie Fences? With Denzel Washington, and Denzel Washington in the movie, he's arguing about how there was so many better black baseball players, and his wife was like, "There's good baseball players now in the major leagues." He's like, "But back in my days, it wasn't." The reality of the story of Moses is that most of the time, all your works you're not going to see. I know I was in and out for a second. So most of the works you're not going to see. And that's the story. Most people that lived, Martin Luther King put forth a vision. Not saying it was the best vision, but he didn't get to see it. Malcolm X put forth a vision. this is some of the stuff we're going to do. And we got crews, we ready, we loaded up, and we got information. So now I wanna offer this to the Armor Rod Squad. We can set up a debate anywhere, anytime. We want to feed the homeless. We want to give some of the proceeds to people that's in need. Our people are struggling. We're not talking about spending money on frivolous things and coming and showing you, hey, look at my Bentley, what I bought off your debate. We're trying to help our. We are willing to do whatever is right, but our debate, if we're talking about Black liberation, and we're talking about we're doing in Sparta, Georgia, we call it the Goshen Project. Now, this is what I want to bring attention to. This is what I want. I want to bring attention to the truth first and foremost. But the reality is that a lot of people like to and it's sad that from 2013 to 14, we still talking about the same thing in 2019. It shows that there was no progression in the conscious community, and they're trying to stir up old debates. And then you got people who aren't really, I'm gonna say, well, ain't righteous in spirit. Like, you can't be a person that claims the Torah and don't follow Torah and try to defend the Torah. You don't have that spirit. So now, and I learned that in watching these debates, and I learned it in a few debates. I watch brothers who don't do it and come up and try to shine on themselves. You have to be pure in heart. You have to be humble. We're not bringing no niggerism to this debate. We want to bring scholarship. We want to be righteous individuals. We want to try to push things that's going to make things work. And I think that we have some information that need to be heard.
No doubt. No doubt. And when we do these presentations, we have these discussions, a lot of people's arguments are going to fall and crumble to pieces. And then the people are going to be able to always go back and see this. You know what I mean? They're going to be able to go back and see this. And so I think in a lot of ways, many of us have been avoided specifically because it's a level of entertainment with this now. And so they don't want brothers who they can bring on these platforms and you kind of mess up the fun, the level of entertainment that they're having now, because they're going to have to find a new gig. You know what I'm saying? Once the real killers come on the scene, you know what I'm saying? All the fake killers tuck their tail, go home. You know what I mean? Because they know somebody about to die up in here for real. And ain't just going to be no talking. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. And I want to share my screen so you can deal with that Ezekiel 16 and 13, and we can dialogue about that as well. Whenever you're ready for it.
All right. I'm ready.
Okay. Hold on. Let me I got about 50 pages open on my on my computer. So let me pull it up here. Hold on just a second. Let it build up. And what I want to do is I want to play part of the video to show you the level of entertainment. Now, can you see that? Can you see my screen?
Yeah, your screen
You
looks
can see
like you.
it still look like, okay, hold on then. Because I just shared it. And it's still me showing. Hold on.
All right. I think I gotta add it. Hold on.
Okay, yeah.
I gotta add it. There you go.
Okay, cool. Let me pull it back up. And then when I play it, let me know if the sound is cool.
All right.
What you do?
Mm-hmm.
Hold on. I guess something happened. I don't know. Hold
Screen
on.
is up. You can see it. All right, I can't hear the sound.
Okay. Do you have to add it on your
The
end?
sound is low on it.
Okay. Hold on. Let me try to cut it
Oh.
up.
Hold on, Nazzir, somebody said you had the headphones in. That's probably why it's like that.
Oh, I gotta take the headphones out. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna take the headphones out. Hold on.
Because King James, that's why they chose the King James Version. Yeah, crazy, yo. And so now we about to see why he gets like that. Right? Thus have also committed fornication with the Egyptians, thou neighbors. See? Y'all call the Egyptians our neighbors.
Now, hey Nazi, listen, I don't know how to do it where if I take my headphones out, I can hear my computer,
I can hear.
but I know.
You can
Oh,
hear.
you heard it when I did that?
When you took the headphones out, it's clear as day.
Okay, let me start over. I apologize to the listening audience. This software is new for all of us, so we're trying to figure it out.
Oh, look at that, y'all. Look at the penis. And he makes sure y'all see that shit. That nigga blow it up on the screen and he show y'all, right? That nigga is like, God damn, I don't know what the hell to say. But when that nigga Michael see Gab, that nigga get crazy. That nigga get crazy, yo. And so now we about to see why he gets like that. Right? Thus have also committed fornication with the Egyptians, thou neighbors. See, y'all call the Egyptians our neighbors. Great of flesh, with great of flesh. What does that word mean? See, King James is being nice when he said it. Because King James, that's why they chose the King James Version. Because King James is not getting as graphic as the other scriptures. So you know there's other scriptures. So I said, you know what? I got to go and look up some of the other scriptures, some of the Jewish scriptures, some of the Jewish writings, and the NIV version. Let's go and see and do some research on what is the greater flesh. So here's another Bible that I looked up. Same chapter, Ezekiel 16:26. 16:26. You engaged in prostitution with the Egyptians, your neighbors, again, with large genitals. Oh, so that's what greater flesh means. When you say greater flesh, it's talking about with large genitals and aroused. In my anger, God got mad as hell that y'all chose to go over there and have sex with them goddamn Egyptians.
All right, so I'm gonna end it there on that.
All right, so all right, so when you go into the prophet Ezekiel, he starts out, and you can read in Ezekiel 18 also. He starts to talk about how you fornicated with the male image of the Egyptians. You took the silver and gold and made male images, right? So when you go into this, they're playing on the aspect of what's being created in Egypt. So now in it, when it says great flesh, is because now the great flesh or the great meat, whatever, that was how the Egyptians portray themselves. It's being sarcastic. It's being sarcastic. And oh, now you're fornicating with the great flesh of the Egyptians. Because in their writings and in their wall sketches, they exaggerate on the size of who they are. And they're probably one of the only few communities that actually do that. So when we go into when he talked about Michael Edwards and the Gab and stuff, that's not a size of a penis. It's Gadol is exaggerated. It's great. So now in it, what we talk about in the context is playing on the words. Like when you deal with the word Moab, Moab means from my father. The Israelites are being funny. They're being sarcastic. They're saying the incestuous nation. So Israel and the writers are always being somewhat humorous in their writings. It's just a style of their writing. So it ain't like they're looking under the kilts of the Egyptians like we spoke of earlier. They're actually just saying what's on the wall. Because if you go there, we talked about the we talked about Baba. These were always being portrayed as large penises in the hands, the phallics, the obelisk, large penises over. So they're saying you're fornicating with these people who portray large penises. And that's that's one of the things that you get into. And then one of the things, if you go into ancient Egyptian history, they slept with dildos, the women. So they had golden and silver images that they laid when they created. And some people and women were large dildo images. So the Bible is playing on the history of Egyptians and their fascination with large penises. But I know you have insight to that too.
Well, I would just, come from a researcher's perspective. I always knew about those particular verses, from years ago, but they rarely get talked about because they're not, as Sarnetta said, and he was accurate about, they're not in the King James in many of your newer Bibles for some reason. And I think that has to do with Europeans possibly taking that out of there, of course. But when I look at it from a research perspective, man, I understand that literature is created for a reason. The initial writings of each culture is, created to create legitimacy, to validate you, to basically extend you back to a divine birth from the gods. So it's going to contain the mythological aspects, the poetical aspects, all that's contained, and it's going to contain the biases and insecurity of people, of humans. At the end of the day, that's going to be in there as well. And so, at the time when the book of Ezekiel was written down, based on modern information that we have, everything kind of leads to the fact that the Bible, or some of the scrolls, I shouldn't say the Bible, but many of the scrolls were written down starting maybe around 800 BCE, somewhere around off in there. And so by the time that the book of Ezekiel was written, it's no telling actually who wrote the book of Ezekiel. It's no telling the level of insecurities maybe he had of what was actually going on at the time. Or he could possibly be looking back at incidents that took place when the Apple or the Hebrews were in ancient Egypt. And they actually were sleeping with these individuals. The men were sleeping with some of the Egyptian women, and vice versa. The Egyptian men were sleeping with Israelite women. I'm not going to sit here and deny that, because we know that the Israelites were definitely sleeping with more northernly people from Mesopotamia, Armenian women. You know what I'm saying? We know that. The Bible even says that, it indicates that. So let's not act like that's not possible, that it happened and that it took place. And we also have to look at the fact that I think people forget this, and I keep expressing this, that we're dealing with people who are genetically and morphologically related. Sarnetta is trying to put it in the context of these are Black Africans or Black people, melanated people, and these other people who are Judeans and Israelites are not. We can't forget that. The context by which he's presenting his argument. He's trying to say that the Judeans are not melanated people, that they're some type of Arabs, have an Arab ancestry or Sumerian ancestry or what have you, European ancestry. but he's trying to say that they're not Africans or they're not melanated people. So in saying that, I can show and prove based on research that they are, and that they are related, and that they are the same people with similar affinities. That's very important. So we don't have here a white boy sitting back jealous of an African because of the size of his penis. But the writer is looking at it, probably looking back in retrospect. Damn, our women were attracted to these men. You know what I'm saying? And it had to be a reason why they was attracted to them. See, I don't want to justify it or try to sugarcoat it. And I know you're speaking more on the metaphysical level and the afterlife and some of the symbolism, and that's true as well. But we also have to put that human component in this also. You know what I'm saying? And it just gives you a well-rounded interpretation.
But let's look at it. Even in some of the ancient texts, you see the Egyptians used to castrate the foreigners so they wouldn't sleep with their women. So there's a return in if you were talking on the level of insecurity, there's a return on that also, because other people felt that foreigners posed a threat against them. So this is some of the stuff we have to take in context. It ain't like, oh, this person is this and that, like all Egyptians are hung and this person ain't, and that just doesn't make sense. But in the term and in the text that we take it in, we have to look at it from the perspective. If you're going around Egyptian writings, you're going around the text, you read the text, and they over exaggerate in the size of things. There's a level of sarcasm that's in the text, and the Bible speaks of it. Even with Dagon, Dagon is a fish god, right? It says Dagon. It's just a play on the word the fish. You know what I'm saying? Something like the fish. We always, in context, take things and to bring enlightenment to it. The things that even you think and you believe and you understand with text, because sometimes people wouldn't even look at the text if it didn't have miracles or didn't have things that was unbelievable. It'd just be a regular story, like the life of, what is it? I used to remember the movie, The Life of Pi?
Yeah.
It goes under that same kind of flow.
Yeah,
yeah. To me, man, this is I know we're gonna do another video soon.
Hey, I want you to share my screen real quick.
All right, I'm watching.
Okay. Because I'm gonna show you that this works both ways.
Yeah.
Can you see that?
Gotcha.
Okay. If you can see my screen, you see the brother.
I don't see. You gotta
okay.
Put it like you did last time with the video.
Hold on. Script. Oh, okay. Okay, you can see it now, right? Okay, there you go. All right, I'm sharing my screen to the audience.
It's coming.
Okay, what you have here is a illustration to a monument of the Syrian soldier Terura. And I don't even bring this out because a lot of people have seen this, but they don't even know who this man is. And when it says Syrian here, Syrian is just a general term to describe the regional power of the day, which was the Syrians. That does not speak to ethnic group. Let's not get that twisted. But here we see him at the time of Memphis V with his son and his Egyptian wife sipping beer through a cane about 1350 BCE with his Egyptian wife. So this worked both ways. This worked both ways. And let's not forget Hatshepsut, her dealings with basically an Asiatic or a foreigner. And that they discovered in the cave. And actually, a pornographic scene of her bent over with the foreigner. So it worked both ways. Now, how petty would I be to start bringing some of this stuff out to say, aha, you see what the Hebrews or the Aparu were doing, or what these foreigners were doing to Egyptian women? You see how petty I could be with it if I wanted to paint that type of argument? That's the same thing that's being done on the other side, instead of just giving context. And then notice Sinetta says, is that why y'all attack us? So he's relating to the and basically putting out there or saying without saying that he thinks in his mind that he's related to the ancient Egyptians somehow. When could be, nothing can be further from the truth. When these people were Tigrinian, Ethiopian, Eritrean, Somalian, Beja type people with a different genetic marker, and morphologically they were different. So you're trying to relate yourself and say that you're a people, you're basically glorifying Somalians. And I think at the end of the day, people lose sight of that your ancestors were not related to those people, you know what I'm saying, directly or indirectly. You were not the ancient Egyptians to the other side of the aisle. You were not those people. So, like I said, it goes both ways. But at the time when Ezekiel was written down, we don't know the type of biasness or personal issues that individual had, or if he's referencing things from a retrospect to say that, yeah, that did happen. Because the Hebrews in the book is very honest about a lot of things that we would find taboo. Even if you look at David when he was on his deathbed and they went and got a young virgin to come lay with him, we kind of can get a general idea of what that means, no matter how we try to clean it up. Because we're Hebrew, we're going to try to clean it up, make it not seem like it what it is, because it's a modern perspective. But in the ancient world, the same rules that we have today did not apply. It was nothing wrong with that in the ancient world. You get what I'm saying? That's across the board. Because the Egyptians, when they would kidnap Magi children and Nubian children and foreigners' children, they would bring them back, and many of them those children would be temple prostitutes. They would be dancing in the temples naked. You know what I'm saying? Like, now, why would you have a little kids in here dancing naked and serving in some of the more prestigious jobs? We know what's going on and what time it is. Yeah, go and put her in here in my administration, in my office. Yeah, she can work in here. You feel me? We know what time it is. And even Horemheb supports me on this. When you look at the edicts of Horemheb, he basically was looking back and it said, excuse my language, we have been fucking up. We have been creating these Aparu and these rebellious type people who have been trying to overthrow the government, who have been rioting, who have been going on strike. We have created these people. How did we create these people? Because we have been oppressive towards them. The how should I put it? The governors, the mayors, the lower level bureaucracy, they were taking advantage of the commoners, of the regular poor people. All day long, every day, 365 days now that we know of a year based on the Roman calendar, whatever it was at that time, they did this year round. And they also had what they call the corvée system, which I speak about in my slavery video, Slavery in Ancient Egypt, that I took down. But the corvée system was you had to work for the government for 6 months out of every year for free on whatever project they deemed applicable where they needed you at. And if you didn't want to go, Nazi, they would come and take your son and make him go. And if neither one of you could go, if he couldn't take your place, somebody's getting locked up. You feel what I'm saying? Not only that, you work for free. There was no incentive. I'm going to turn around and still tax you off of your farmland, off of your herds, what have you. And you had to bring that directly, not to Pharaoh, not to the higher ups, but to the governor of your local region, who had an agenda, who was trying to get paid. You get what I'm saying? Who was not practicing Ma'at. And Horemheb basically put all of that on blast in the edicts of Horemheb to say that any government official, anybody that works for the government, anybody that works in the military, that if you take advantage of anybody, you're going to suffer the same penalty that you put on them, except we're going to lock you up, we're going to kill you, or what? This is the list that Horemheb went to try to clean up the country. Because remember, it was a cosmopolitan. So the commoners, which are the majority, poor people, the illiterate people, they're the majority. If they see these levels of injustices going on coming from the upper echelon, then you're going to have more incidents like the Hyksos. You're going to have more incidents like the Apparu or the Hebrews in Egypt. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have more incidents of civil wars that took place during the first intermediate period. The civil wars that took place during the second dynasty with Mentuhotep. I'm not Mentuhotep, but I forget the pharaoh's name right off my hand. But matter of fact, I got it right here. But I think the people can get what I'm saying. Matter of fact, let me go to it real quick. Let me look at it. I hate not remembering somebody's name that I'm talking about. And that civil war that took place is very important for context as well. With this Pharaoh Kasakemi is the Pharaoh I was talking about. Pharaoh Kasakemi from the second dynasty. And so, you know, Egypt was never united. And I don't want to go too far off into that, but what I'm just trying to say, I'm just trying to give context. That's it.
Can you see the image I put up there?
Yes, sir.
All right, so one of the daggers that Garfield presented is that, and I'm paraphrasing somewhat, that the Israelites or Israel wasn't mentioned before anytime before 400 or 500, bringing forth the Kirk monolith of Shalmaneser III that shows the mention of Kabul. And you trans a couple of Aramaic, sometimes they add a "u" on the end, right? And the prefixes or certain time to be. It says a Kabul. So now you say Ahab, that's a Kabul? Absolutely, because he is a Ahab, right? Ahab. So now you got Achabu, the Israelite. So in that text, that's something that he presented, and he was like, "Yo, I want to show you a dagger," and that's not really a dagger. It shows that some of the information he's misrepresenting, and I don't think he's doing it on purpose. I think that he really has an intent in shedding new light on different types of arguments, which I respect Garfield for, because he's not going on most of the, even though sometimes he does share stuff that is kind of petty, but on this one, it shows that some of the stuff he made blatant mistakes, and I know you pointed out some of that stuff with the Samal. What can you enlighten on that? Enlighten us on with that.
Basically, you know, the whole relation between the names, the Yada Ya and the Yahudi, you know, the various variations of the names were philologically incorrect. And the Chicago Oriental Institute basically came out and said that in the early 1900s. I don't have that pulled up. I can pull it out if we actually needed it, but there's no need to. And then also to tie into that would be the Azika inscription. And I think Nadam dealt with that. And the inscription, it was actually a broken pallet. Matter of fact, let me try to pull it up real quick so I can let the people know what I'm talking about. Hold on. Pull this up real quick. The Azika inscription. And that's one of the things that's used also to try to link Judah with the North, or to say that there was two. See, there's so many similarities between the two kingdoms. Azika inscription. And then he went off into, you know, the lions, you know, that the kingdom of Samal had lions, etc. Okay, let me see here. Okay, go to, can you share my screen again? Hold on.
Yeah, just put it up and I'll hit it. I feel like a professional now, bro. I got this down pat.
Yeah, man, we getting there. So next time, you know, I think the everything will flow a lot smoother. Can you see that? Okay, yeah, you can see it. All right. Okay, so what we have here is the Azika inscription, and it was basically a tablet inscription from the reign of Sennacherib. 705 to 681 BC. Discovered in the Library of Ashurbanipal. It was identified as a single tablet by Nadav Naim, that's who I was mentioning, in 74. And it describes a Syrian Sennacherib campaign against the king of Judah, including the conquest of Ezekiel. Now, in this, at one time, it was viewed as 2 tablets. And so there was a lot of confusion in terms of, oh, see here, there's 2 Ezekiels and there's 2 Judahs. And so Garfield was basically using old, outdated 1800s information to try to make an argument to the community who is on the layperson's level, because they didn't debunk. Remember at your debate with Seti, these people didn't even know what you was talking about. You mean to tell me that you're a Nile Valley researcher and you didn't know who the 9 bowls were and much of the other information that you brought out? This was like, you know what I'm saying? Like news to them. So by the time the question and answer portion came along, they didn't come with anything. You get what I'm saying? But let you or I had been in the audience and we were watching presenters. This is just stuff we can freestyle up the top to know, the history of these particular countries and the history of this particular region. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So from a methodological, I would say his methodology is off. He's airing this across the board. I even showed Kerbet Kiafa to show that lions were in front of the temples. You know what I'm saying? And that's not exclusive to one kingdom or another. That was something that was universally understood across the board. Going back to ancient Turkey, and people, due to their levels of dealing in high trade with the obsidian trade, that a lot of their ideas were traveling along the trade routes and going off into Sumer, Iraq, into Egypt, and these people were emulating the styles that they were seeing up in Turkey. You got to give Turkey their credit, man. You have to give ancient Anatolians their credit. And Africans participate.
Why you think the modern scholars won't give ancient Anatolia their credit? And it's based off of ignorance. So explain the ignorance of why they won't give it.
Well, a lot of the discoveries are just occurring, recently. They like really taking it serious now. With Göbekli Tepe, with Qatar Hayuk, and it's a bunch of them that the last name Hayuk. I don't know all of them, but those are the main 2. Specifically Qatar Hayuk. That's where we see the seated goddess sitting on the throne with the 2 lions. We would see this show up later in the dynastic period of ancient Egypt. So I think it's just, African or Afrocentric scholars, this has not been an area of importance for them. Because on the front of books like this, Sheikh Anta Diop and, Chancellor Williams and many others, made everything all about ancient Egypt. You know what I'm saying? And even in this book here, everybody in this book is blue-black. And even if you look on what's really pseudo about the book, to let you know, and then that's another area of contention that's going to be up for debate against these Nile Valley researchers. And you can see here is that they actually took a Nilotic or Kenyan, cut his hair in the style of an ancient Egyptian pharaoh, who you can clearly see has a more aquiline, Somali, typical Northeast African type phenotype, you know what I'm saying? And make a comparison like that. And every other comparison in here, I don't know if people peeped it out, is blue-black people. So it's almost in a sense saying without saying that Northeast Africa, these people were indigenous to Northeast Africa, and they were not. These people that you see during the New Kingdom, matter of fact, real quick, and it's tying in with Turkey. Share my screen again. Let me shrink this. And this is tying right in with what I'm talking about with Turkey. But try to pull this up. My computer, like, bro, you working me overtime. I got stuff in Adobe Premiere I'm working on. I got like 50 screens up because I thought we was going to possibly get off into some other areas. So I wanted to be ready, but we really didn't go there.
I think we're gonna slowly walk people into it. You know what I mean? It's a little by little, but we want to get awareness out there.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me go back. Let me go back to my photos. Then I didn't.
And we waiting for somebody to bite. We waiting for somebody to bite. We putting little gems out there for you to bite.
Yeah, because I didn't know. Like I said, I didn't know how deep we're gonna go get into it. We were gonna get into it, but this would be one New Kingdom Nubian picture image right here. And so they're basically trying to say without saying that these type of people were the original inhabitants of pre-dynastic, Neolithic, Mesolithic, Paleolithic type Africans in North Africa, specific to the Nile Valley. And they were not. And we can prove and show this, that many of these groups were immigrants coming up through the Sudan, which had a trade route. And, you know, a lot of those people.
Nazzir.
Go ahead.
You want to do this? You want to do this part tomorrow night?
I'm giving them too much. No, we can wait.
No, I ain't saying we give them too much. I'm saying what we can do is give more tomorrow night.
No. I mean,
I get off work.
No, we good. I tell you what, we good. I mean, we put it out there, and now we can start to reach out. I can reach out if it's cool to some people and let them know, hey, this is what Nazi put out there. They're saying we'll pay you to debate. You know what I'm saying? And let's sit down, let's have these discussions, and we're trying to do what's in the best interest of the people. Pretty much. That's pretty much all this is, man. You know, it's just we kicking it, we passionate about this stuff, we kicking it, and it is what it is. You know, we're not giving the typical Hebrew spiel. You know, so and I think if you do more of this and people get a chance to see another side of you along this journey, you know what I'm saying, they'll appreciate you more. Because I think they've only seen one side of you. You feel me? So
absolutely. And I'm ready to share. You know, we definitely been going in. I mean, we didn't touch on really. That's good because a lot of stuff is covered. You know what I mean? And I thank the Most High for everything. I thank putting me in your presence and you in my presence, vice versa, because we got a job to do, man. It's divine. You know what I'm saying? And I really feel there's some stuff to come in the makings, and we ready to stir some pots up. You know, we heard all the other debates, the rebuttals, the discussions. We want to get into some serious stuff. And I think which we was going to start out with is the origins of the Hebrew, right? We're going to start out with. And I think we'll do that next show. Might be tomorrow night, the night after tomorrow, whatever we decide. We'll definitely keep y'all posted. But we're going to start getting it in. Any questions you want us to answer, definitely put it at the bottom of the comments, and we'll give you or anything that you have problems with dealing with. I'll give you Nazzir's response. I'll give you my maybe different, but whatever suits you, you utilize it, you know? And that's what it is. We about opening up the forum. We're about going into some scholarship and that stuff and going back and you gay, this person gay. But we want to show you that this stuff is really a lot of stuff is involved that you overview and understand, because there's a that we're going to get into that's going to change the.
For sure, man. Like I said, once again, I appreciate being on the platform, bro. And I look forward to future discussions along these lines and dig off into a lot more information. And I also look forward to having these symposiums and conventions with these brothers in New York, Atlanta, wherever. Let's get it in.
All right, bro. So I just hit the end of the broadcast.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you hit that. Yeah.
All right.
Still running.